NASCAR Mobile. It's the official app of NASCAR. It puts race coverage and live in-car cameras right at your fingertips. You can even listen to drivers and teams discuss race strategy. Download now at NASCAR.com/mobile. Welcome back to Martinsville as we take a look at the 23 of David Reagan, a 30-year-old from Unadilla, Georgia. Qualified 12th, made it into the final round of qualifying. Grew up racing on the short tracks throughout Georgia. Very competitive in the Legends cars. I know Jeff, your son Harrison, has come up through the ranks, has done a lot of racing, has worked on the short tracks. And obviously, seeing someone like David Reagan have the success that he's been able to have going down that path has to obviously make you feel good about Harrison's path that he's taking. He's actually going to be racing in the truck race later today.
Well, I think the fun thing about David is that, he is a racer. He for years races on late model car. Just until a couple years ago, he still races on late model car. Worked on it himself. Really just loves racing. Is doing everything he can to try to keep his career going, have a shot at being in a winning car. And so when you see a guy like David Reagan, who drove for the big team, now is taking kind of a step back to drive a small team, in second today. Qualified well yesterday, in second place. It's good to see. It's good to see because it tells you that at some racetracks, especially like a place like Martinsville, you can still come with kind of that old school mentality. It's not about the truck full of engineers and all that stuff. Some of those old school things still work at a racetrack like this.
So I'm partial because this is hands down my favorite racetrack on the circuit. But this is the exact reason why the NASCAR Sprint Cup level needs to go to short tracks like this. Need to be at Bristol, need to be here, need to be at Richmond. I would argue we need more smaller tracks because of just what Jeff said. Because a good race car driver with a fundamental team that can work without simulation, work on fundamentals of loading the tires correctly like you learned at every late model track around the country, can come here. And I'm not saying David Reagan's going to go outrun all of our chase cars, but he has a better chance here than perhaps any other track other than the super speedways.
And the race is fun.
Yeah,
right? I mean, this short track racing, it creates that opportunity that you just spoke of, but also it's so much fun to come and watch it and do it on and watch it on TV, go to the grandstands and watch it. You're right on top of the action. It's just an awesome environment. It's part of what made NASCAR what it is today, and we need to always make sure we continue it because without the understanding of the history of the sport and where it came from, it's hard to move the sport forward, in my opinion.
And it's a very difficult racetrack, as Brian Scott was able to find out yesterday. And we'll talk about wheel hop and the different things that these drivers are going to have to deal with. But Brian Scott had those rear wheels bouncing as he was trying to get through the turn. Actually had to cut it short in the right rear quarter panel. But a difficult racetrack after Brian Scott has a second place finish at Talladega, the largest racetrack to go to, and now the shortest. And he has a little bit of issues trying to figure it out. As we go back into the garage with Kelly.
And Rick, that second place finish last week at Talladega was a career best for Brian Scott, so he's hoping to ride a little bit of that momentum here in Martinsville. You'll notice this paint scheme, though, on the 44, American Red Cross. They've teamed up Richard Petty Motorsports with the American Red Cross in their efforts for the relief with Hurricane Matthew. Brian Scott talked about it yesterday, said it was a tremendous honor to have the American Red Cross on the car. He said, obviously, even though Hurricane Matthew has left, American Red Cross still here providing shelter, food, and cleanup to hundreds of people. Still have hundreds of people being sheltered right now. A representative from the American Red Cross said they have served more than 1.3 million meals. They've had over 100,000 overnight stays for people affected by Hurricane Matthew, which is more than Hurricane Sandy. So this has been a much bigger relief than anybody estimated. And you can see on the back of the car there, it said if you want to donate, you text Matthew to 90999, and there's more information on richardpettymotorsports.com. But a great effort there by Richard Petty Motorsports and Brian Scott.
Very philanthropic. Most teams are always willing to help out, especially when something happens like we saw with Hurricane Matthew going through the state of North Carolina, all up and down the East Coast. Jimmy Johnson He's not the winningest driver at Martinsville this weekend, but he's pretty darn close. His teammate, Jeff Gordon, has 9 wins, Jimmy with 8.
Well, I was going to say, we rode around with Joey Logano. Well, if we're going to ride around with anybody, we might as well ride around with Jimmy Johnson. 8 wins here at the paperclip. He knows how to get around here very, very well. So, Jeff, as we rode around with Joey, ride around with Jimmy, it's very difficult to see the difference, but it seems a little different. Jimmy maybe rides the curve a little longer right there on exit, is a little more patient back to the gas. I think that's maybe just how his car is driving.
Yeah, there's 2 approaches here. You can try to run right against the curve. See how early he got to the curve? It just carries it all the way around the corner. Or you can stay out a little later and get to the curve later as well. So right now, this is where Jimmy's running. It would be if there's somebody behind you, and you want to make sure you don't miss the bottom. You want to make sure you stay on the bottom. Don't give a hole for a guy to go. It's very hard to pass here. If you slow him down right here in the corner and then get a good run off, how in the world are they going to pass you unless you knock you out of the way? So a couple different approaches. And one thing about Jimmy Johnson, we talk about how good he's been here, but it's been 6 races since he's won here. So they've lost a little bit. I'm not going to say they lost a lot, but they have lost a little bit. And we'll see where they are on Sunday. But that speed that they have historically had hasn't been here the last several years.
It hasn't, but we talked about it being one of the warmest days perhaps on record for this race tomorrow afternoon. And I look at Jimmy Johnson's physical fitness to come into play. Now, I won't claim I saw him out running at 7 a.m., but some friends on the TV side saw him out there at 7 a.m. running. And my point is, he has all afternoon off, but he's up early in the morning running. He takes his physical fitness to a high level. And you talked about this yesterday, Jeff, how 80-something degrees at Martinsville is perhaps the hottest you've ever been in a race car. If it does come down to a physical fitness test, while most of these drivers are in good shape, Jimmy Johnson takes that, I think, to the next level. That could be an advantage for him.
Yeah, when I passed him on my golf cart wrapped in all my clothes, that made me feel a little bad.
Yeah, did you want to get off the jog next to him?
No, I told him, I rode by him, I said, "You're crazy, man, it's cold. You need a ride? You need a ride?"
I'm surprised that you were able to pass him in your golf cart.
Well, we were going the other way.
He normally goes pretty quickly. But that was good of you to give him a little inspiration. He probably doesn't need any inspiration in the round of 8, though, because he is as good as any can be at the next 3 racetracks. In the round of 8, this is the first time under this format that he's been able to make it to this round. He has 8 career wins at Martinsville, move off to Texas, 6 career wins at that racetrack, and then 4 career wins at Phoenix. Those are the next 3 races. So Jimmy Johnson definitely one of the favorites to win the championship this year, looking at the round of 8.